All right, let's get it.
All right, cool beans. All right, welcome guys. Is this like episode 45, I think? Welcome back. We've been on a little bit of a break. Kevin's been super busy with school and bad at time management. No.
Okay, then. All
Yeah.
things are moving.
Yep, throwing flames. So like I said, welcome, episode 45 to the Mindset Effect podcast. Today we are interviewing Oliver. Is it Rutherford or Rutherford?
Rutherford.
Rutherford. Okay. I love the accent. Yeah, we like the accents here. So if you
That's
couldn't
why
tell.
I'm here, man.
Yeah.
There's no content. It's just an accent.
Yes, 100%. It's like that's the whole advertisement here is the accent. No, but so we would like to learn more about UniRise. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. UniRise is a social enterprise started a couple of months ago by my co-founder Andrew Mitson and myself. And so I'm going to assume that you don't know much about like the UK admissions university process, but
with that.
We should do like an introduction of Oliver first. Like, tell us about yourself.
Yes. Well, UniRise is his background, so that's kind of what I was aiming for. It works both ways.
We'll get there. We'll get there. It's basically my life right now.
That's what I was
about my past there if you want. So in the UK, the whole like admissions process, like getting into university is pretty messed up. The way it works is very different to the US. You can only apply to 5 universities. If you're in medicine, you can only apply to 4 and then another non-medicine one, but basically 5. And in that application, you've basically got your GCSEs, which is what you do when you're like 15, 16, your grades. You've got your predicted grades for your A-level, which is kind of like SATs, but you don't have them yet. So they're all predicted. And most teachers get that wrong. So a lot of universities, obviously they're important, but they know that there's a lot of mistakes. Then there's this thing called the personal statement. And it's basically 4,000 characters or like 500 to 600 words. It's 1 page. And that's like your motivation. It's like a cover letter for universities saying why you want to study your subject at their university. And you send one of them out to your 5 universities. And then based on that, and also like a reference and a few other things, the universities make that decision. But the most important part is this personal statement. And the thing about it is that students from more affluent backgrounds, they often have, well, not often, but a lot of the time they do have people write them for them, or they go to schools where their teachers went to these really high quality universities and they've got really good support in writing excellent personal statements.
That's the same in the US too. Like I know a lot of people that like, hire people to write their stuff for them.
Yeah. Tens of thousands of dollars or pounds going into these. In the US, actually, they pay a lot more because you can apply to lots more places.
Yeah, especially SAT prep, like you pay a lot for that stuff.
Crazy stuff. So you end up having lower income students being disadvantaged because often teachers in these schools aren't so prepared and they're not trained themselves how to support students in these applications. So I used to be a teacher, deputy head of maths in a secondary school, so kind of like middle school and high school in kind of central London for a couple of years. And a lot of my students, super smart, super inspiring, incredible kids who've been through all sorts of crap in their lives. They've even got good grades and they write the most awful personal statements. It's like, ever since I was born, I've wanted to be a doctor. And like teachers are like, oh yeah, go for it. But if you're from the university, that's like a big no-no. And there's a study saying that 75% of teachers' advice on the personal statement in these schools is actually the opposite, or is not aligned to what actual admissions tutors from our version of Ivy League, which is called Russell Group University, so Oxford, Cambridge, LSE, UCL, all these guys, is not what they're looking for. So what me and Andrew did, we thought, well, this is really a problem because it's a big blocker to social mobility. We both love hacking systems. So whether it's exams and like doing as little work as possible to get the highest grade in like in SATs or GCSEs or A levels, whether it's whatever it might be, we just love like seeing a system and hacking it and treating it as a game to get the optimal result for the minimal effort. So we thought, well, this is basically a game. It's 1 page. How do we hack this game? And we spoke to a bunch of admissions tutors, the people themselves who actually make these decisions, like what are you looking for? We then built an online course, which is super comprehensive based on everything that we learned. We got them to review like 300 personal statements, so we really know what they're looking for. We then built this thing on Notion called the What the Fuck Should I Study at University Guide, which is basically this like comprehensive like encyclopedia where for any university and pretty much any subject, it's still growing, what's it actually like studying that course at university. So it's interviews with students and feedback and what grades you need and like loads of like actual honest truth rather than what like universities are telling students because they just want
just on a
to study
tangent
that.
though, Notion is amazing. I
Oh,
love
dude.
Notion.
Actually, I
literally
Notion is.
told Andrew about this like I think like I don't know last year. It's amazing. It's
Yeah, I'm from a small
Drive.
town, so we didn't use like anything. It was just like have fun. Like,
yeah, it's so sick. And like, I'm not even a pro. I've got a friend called Ritvik, and he's like a Notion monster. He can do all sorts of like relational databases and stuff that like I only thought you could do in Excel. And I just use it like for notes. I like
the slash feature and just slash bullet points. Those are so nice.
It's so, and slash to do is so satisfying.
Yeah, it's amazing.
My previous company, we had like our whole we called it the brain. It was all on Notion and all public. So if anyone wants to see our company policies, like how we work, what are our protocols, what are our values, everything is on Notion. It's super cool. And it's crazy. It's just like a kind of note. It's like Google Docs on steroids, but yeah, it's done so well.
Wait, so what is like what is the purpose of Notion? Is it like just for like applying places or like what is it for?
No, it's like it's like an editor. It's like Google Drive, but it's more accessible in my opinion. It's easier to get things without like you don't have to click. You can just like all you need is a keyboard. You don't really need a mouse, in my opinion. So,
Andrew, I think you of anyone, if you start it, you're gonna start a whole new podcast just on Notion. It's like perfect for someone like you.
I'm
kind of a crazy guy who likes productivity. I've got actually like productivity stuff on Notion, so it really helps me with like to structure my days, who I'm talking to, and it's got like my whole life is on Notion. All my ideas for the next 5 years of my life and business ideas and productivity hacks and like everything for me is on Notion pretty much.
Yeah, for me it was like Notion or Evernote. I just chose Notion. So yeah, it's like a note-taking app basically.
I see. So speaking of that, like what are some of the biggest productivity hacks that you've implemented?
So Andrew, my co-founder, is like a real productivity.
Oh, you guys are the same names.
Beast. Yeah. And I think he's helped me a lot with productivity because I read a bunch of books on it. So there's like Getting Things Done, there's like Deep Work and a couple of stuff.
Deep Work is a good book.
It's a good book. It was kind of contradictory to getting things done though, because Getting Things Done is like just like bang it out. And then Deep Work is like, no, spend like the first 5 hours in the morning without your internet and just like, doing your thing.
That's insane. I would never do that.
I mean, maybe I'm exaggerating.
Yes, but still.
Like yeah, I think for me, so there's kind of, there's macro stuff and there's micro stuff. So like high level behaviors, turning your phone off and putting it into another room until the evening. Like when your phone goes off, there's the split attention effect. It takes about 22 minutes for your phone, for you to like recover cognitively and have that bandwidth back, even though you don't think it. So just turn your phone off. I use an app called Freedom and another app as well to like block YouTube and like all sources of like, because I'm super curious and I like hit YouTube hard and I listen to everything on like 3x speed. That's another productivity hack.
That's
like,
insane. I do 2x.
Yeah, my Andrew's on 4x.
You're on 4x, bro?
What?
No way.
That's insane.
There's a super cool guy called Cliff Weitzman who's got an app called Speechify, and it's really awesome. And it kind of like helps you. He created it because he's dyslexic. He's got a great story, and
I've seen him on LinkedIn.
Yeah, he's such a cool guy, and I really admire him actually. So yeah, listening to everything on 3x, it accumulates, right? Because if you're watching a TED talk, like, and your brain is plastic, so it can adapt over time. At first, you're like, oh my God, I can't do this. But give it a few weeks, you just increase it by like 0.2 each 3 days. And then you get there in a few weeks. That's massively helped my productivity. I think other things like chunking time. So I used to just do calls throughout all the days and like didn't have time for deep work. So now I try and do calls just on Friday, unless they're like really important. And that means Friday, that's when I met you, Andrew. It's like calls, and I'm not really going to be productive that day, but I'm going to meet loads of people and have loads of thoughts and be creative. And then in the mornings, I try not to open my emails until like 12. And I just have like I do like my morning routine. I do a workout with Andrew, some like gratitude, some meditation, then a few hours of just like real focus work. And then I can open my emails and everything else and start to like, acclimatize to reality. I used to be like, I can't do that because it's, what if there's a fire? What if someone needs me? You kind of realize most of the time it doesn't matter. Like things can wait. And if it's really urgent, someone will like come to your house and tell you. So that was like one of the most like relieving things that I had working in startups. Like it probably doesn't matter. It's fine for you not to look at your emails until midday. Andrew does like 3 p.m. And there's also like small things like hiding your doc on your MacBook, downloading an app called Rectangle, which you can use like keyboard shortcuts to just like move your screens.
That's cool.
Every morning I write like my most important thing. Like what is the most important thing I have to get done today? What's like, this is going to take like 2 hours. I have to get it done. And then that's just it. That's my MIT. And then below that, it's like all my other tasks, but I just have to get my MIT done. And even if I had a really bad day and it's super unproductive, if I've got my MIT done, I'm happy. So that, because I think a lot of people like just try and do too many things in one day and aren't focused.
Me, probably.
And then, yeah, the final thing is like batching. If I've got loads of admin to do, I'll just be like, okay, these 3 hours, I'm just going to like listen to a podcast on 3x and do loads of emails, do loads of admin, loads of boring stuff, and just get it all out of the way. Yeah, I can link you a blog post that Andrew Mitson wrote, my co-founder, on productivity, which goes into more detail, but that's kind of top of my mind things I'd recommend. What do you guys think? Anything resonate there with you or anything I'm missing?
I mean, like for the most part, yeah. Like Kevin and I both do like the whole 2 times speed thing. It's always fun when Kevin would like when we're in person, he would just like play something out loud, like not even like on headphones at 2 times.
Everyone
like,
else is like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Because I remember that happened so many times. So like I do a lot of time blocking too. That's big for me.
I used to do that. I don't even do it anymore. Freaking.
What do you? Yeah. What do you do now?
I have a to-do list and I just go through my to-do list throughout the day. I don't even schedule stuff. Well, I do schedule like meetings and stuff, but like not like schoolwork or personal work or just like YOLO, you know?
Yeah. I have kind of a mixture of like, I have both the to-do list and I have the calendar. And so like just take everything on the to-do list and just like schedule it the day before.
Yeah. That's what I did in college. Yeah. I had a to-do list and then the night before I just schedule what I need to do tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like, I think for me, it's like the number of tasks. I always try to think about like, what would a high performer do today? Like, what are all the tasks that they would get done? And like, I try to punch in like insane amounts of things that like most people wouldn't normally be able to do. And I try to get all of those done. So I don't always succeed with that, but like, that's a big thing that I always like try to do to like really increase my speed.
And you drink like 50 Diet Cokes a day.
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Not that many, but I have so much. Yeah. It's honestly really bad. Like last year, like you almost never see me without a Diet Coke. Like it's really bad. Like that's why on LinkedIn, one of my skills is literally drinking Diet Coke because I just, I do it more. Legit. Yeah, literally. Yeah.
Never seen that before.
Yeah. So I do that like honestly more than I do like anything. It's probably pretty bad.
Do you think it's even a matter of taste now and more just a habit that it's like?
I think it's a habit. Like I think I could probably relatively survive without it. There's
no way, bro. There's no way you can study without Diet Coke.
I feel like we should have you guys should test this out.
Yeah, well, like there was a while ago where I was like, okay, I'm gonna stop. That just didn't happen. I think we went virtual for school, and I was like, I had like set this day. I was like, I'm gonna stop it right now, but then we went virtual and I was like, whatever. I was like left off that goal. So sure. How did you and Andrew like Mitson, like what is your guys' backstory together? You guys kind of remind me almost of like Kevin and I in a way.
Yeah, in what way?
We're both really close. And like we've only known each other for like a year or something.
Like a year or so, yeah. Yeah,
but it's like the best friend kind of thing, and we always talk about like all these business ideas that we have. And it's pretty inevitable that we'll be starting something eventually. It's just like kind of in that.
Awesome. Me and Andrew, so Andrew's, so I used to be a teacher, but like I was always doing like loads of things on the side whilst I was teaching, and his previous company that he founded, I was kind of working on part-time, helping out with some stuff. And then we started working together, and I think I just loved how he thinks. I thought he's kind of like an outsider. Like if you ask Andrew a question, he won't answer it in any way anyone else would. He thinks everything from like first principles, and I suppose he's like less socialized than most people. So I would just find myself always curious as to what he has to think about everything, from politics to religion to like education to technology to Notion to whatever. Gotta get Notion in there. I've got an affiliate link with these guys.
Yeah, of course.
So and also I think this is underrated. We had so much fun together. We would just be working hard and just laughing, very similar sense of humor, both very like confident, but also like self-aware of our insecurities as well. And we just laughed all the time at each other and it was so silly. And then I was working at a startup. He was like traveling for a year or two. And we just got on a call for like, we hung out like once a year for the last few years. We weren't particularly close. We just got on well. And then we had a 30-minute call in like, I don't know, June. And it turned into like a 5-hour brainstorm about the meaning of life and like why education's so fucked up. And then it turned out into this like kind of 10-year plan about what we're going to do about it. UniRise is part of that plan. And then there are more steps to it. And then we just started working together every day. And it's been super fun.
So like, if you had the power to like completely change the education system to like how you think, like how would that go? Like, what would it look like?
That's such a hard question.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest with you, like education is hard because like, if you were to say that about banking, like not a lot of people know about banking. Like, so it would be easy to answer, but everyone or most people, well, everyone's had an education, even if it's not a formal one. So like when you talk to people about education, everyone thinks they're an expert because they're like, oh, well, when I was at school or my teacher, whatever, or my mom was a teacher. So it's really tricky and like people take it very personally when you disagree with them. I think that a lot of people are seduced by educational ideas that sounds really good and are really seductive, ostensibly. But actually, when you like dig deeper and when you've been a teacher in like a really rough state school like I was, or when you've lectured at university, or when you've worked in an education startup or for the Department of Education, you start to realize actually it's so much more complex. So I think like one thing that over the last 10, 15 years has been like big in both the UK and the US, like progressive education, is like knowledge isn't important. And the hypothesis is that it sounds great. It's like, we've got Google, like anything we need to know, we just Google it. It's like, why should we be teaching kids facts? Surely facts are pointless. And like, you know, in your phone, in your pocket, you've got everything. And again, that sounds great. Then you become a teacher, particularly in like a deprived school. And you also study like psychology and cognitive neuroscience. And you realize that facts aren't everything, but actually knowledge is really, really important. So in the UK, there's this big shift now away from like teaching knowledge. And that's actually undermining students, because by knowing lots of stuff in your long-term memory, that frees up your working memory to be more creative and more critical, and all the things that we need to be, particularly with AI taking those jobs in the future. So I'm not sure this to answer your question about what's the main thing I would change. I think I'd want to like, I'm actually writing like a very, very long blog post about that. And I feel like I'm still figuring it out. So I don't want to give you a crap answer. But I think one thing that's really frustrating in recent education, I didn't like Ken Robinson's TED Talk, which is like, schools kill creativity and like knowledge is bad and we should all just be creative and whatever. It sounds great. And we all want creative kids and we all want critical kids. But when I was a teacher, I would quiz my kids every single day, particularly because they didn't have much like social capital, because they weren't brought up in families where they went on holidays or were reading books. So I just taught them so much shit. They knew all the capital cities. They'd read loads of books. They knew their times tables. So by the time it got to the more complex things, they had like the cognitive bandwidth to actually be critical and be creative. So that's like a big thing. My teaching approaches people thought was like traditional, but it was actually like quite aligned with modern cognitive psychology. And knowledge isn't enough, but like I think it's a prerequisite to all the awesome stuff that we should be educating kids for.
Dude, that's really funny. Your students probably hated you too. The
well,
teacher that assigned so much homework, so many quizzes.
Dude, yeah, that was me. I was definitely the most hated teacher for a few months because I was also incredibly strict, because a lot of my students didn't have many boundaries at home. And suddenly I'm there like, you know, no, you cannot, you know, smoke weed in my classroom, whatever. So I was really disliked. But then again, like you start to give them quizzes and then give them loads of homework, and that's annoying. But then they start to do well. And then they're like, oh wait, I'm actually really good at maths. And then they start to like you more because they're like, oh my God, I've never enjoyed this, but now because I'm good at it, it's like a positive feedback loop. So after the first 6 months, and suddenly it kind of switched around because they were like, oh, I'm actually going to learn here. And in this classroom, everyone's quiet and I can study. And I slowly started to become more myself and have more banter and stuff like that. But yeah, particularly when you teach in these schools, I think you have to have discipline. And if not, walk all over you. They just destroy you. And so many teachers leave, unfortunately, because the kids are brutal. So you've got to be like really strict and really firm. And if that means people hating you for a few months, then great.
Mm-hmm. And it's like all the good coaches are pretty hard on you. Like it's kind of how that works.
Yeah. So like back to education, like I feel like the question you asked is like, what would you change by education? I think the better thing to think about is like just accept the way things are right now, right? Like we can't change the fact that there's SATs, that we have to write these personal statements, you know? And I think it's really like the way I think is like, how do I make the best out of it? How do I, you know, go along with the rules and like follow the rules and get into a good school? I think that's the sort of mentality you need to have.
Then, I think it depends.
I think it's both, right?
Yeah. I think it depends. Like, I think it depends on like who you are and like who you want to be, I think. Cause like, you know, I think a lot of people will have that. And I think that's the right attitude for a lot of people because like, you know, we can like focus on it and it's just like a negative strain in your life where like, you're not going into the industry to actually do anything about it. Like your plans are elsewhere. So like you look at like Elon Musk, for example, with like all the rocket stuff, you know, originally all of the like, you know, space stuff was it was like something run by the government. And so like he could have looked at it and been like, okay, well, I can't do anything about it. But instead he worked and he like has turned it successfully into a private industry. And so like, I think it depends, like if you're not trying to build like the, you know, rocket company or like, you're not trying to like necessarily do that. It's not your goal. Then like, yeah, I think it's not really much use to you to like focus on it. Then it's just a negative strain and it's not really helping anyone. But like, if you're in the industry to actually like make change, then I think that it's valuable to have like a mindset of like, you know, I can change this.
Yeah, sure. I'm very much like with UniRise, we're really trying to change the admissions process because it's really fucked up basically. And if we can get hundreds of thousands of students to all write incredible personal statements, then it creates a glitch in the matrix, right? Because suddenly this filtering mechanism doesn't work anymore. And that means the system has to change.
And then they have to update.
Yeah, and then I would love to be part of that conversation. Like, what should it be next, and how can we make it far more comprehensive and like research based or whatever? Same with like exam grades. I mean, you can use like machine learning and AI to personalize education to the point where pretty much any kid can pretty much get the best grades in pretty much any subjects, just through like high quality pedagogy and like high quality technology. So that's another way that then suddenly the like stigming mechanism of grades won't really mean much. So I'm all for like breaking things, but as you say, sometimes you've got to play the game to give you the credibility to like then go and break things.
Yeah,
but you don't need that credibility. It depends what your goals are really, and like what Andrew was saying.
Yeah, see, this is the crazy thing about like, I don't know, even new ideas nowadays. It's like humans are smart enough to figure out like the best way to do probably almost everything. Like it's really a kind of interesting thought. Like, you know, we have people who can like fly in a metal box and not die. Like, you know, like we can fly across the planet and like not die. Like, you know, we are probably going to be on another planet in the next like, you know, 10 years. Like that's just insane to me. And so I'm like, you know, it's kind of funny because we have the capability to solve almost every problem on this planet. Like we understand the psychology. Like if we would, you know, put more resources into like actually figuring out like, you know, what is the best economic system that are really like, you know, not even focusing on partisan stuff, but like, what is the best economic system that'll do the best for everyone? You know, like we could study, like we could put tons of resources into this, you know, like we have so many solutions that we could figure out, like education, you know, politics, like all of these things. Like we could figure out all of these things. And it's just amazing to me that we don't.
Like, why do you think that is? Why don't we?
I think there are a multitude of reasons. I think
like we just don't have enough people working in the right fields, you know?
I think that's probably
I remember
part of
like Elon Musk, like he said in an interview, like we just don't have like enough engineers working on solutions. Like there's a lot of people in other fields like banking and like finance that could be working engineering and like making like doing all the stuff that you just mentioned.
I think that's when like the automation, I think that is a positive that
and I think like there's not enough incentive. Like I think like
I think that's it.
I think a lot of people they just don't wake up and feel like, you know, they don't feel that drive to do stuff, you know?
Yeah. Well, like,
I don't know. I think people just want it easy in life. And that's totally cool, you know, like, and I don't know, just like things are hard, you know, like making like a ship that can like go across the galaxy. That's hard.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like a, I think that's more of like individuals, I think. But like on like a societal status, like a societal plane, I guess, like, you know, you look at like where most of the research takes place and stuff, and it's, you know, it's people donating money to like universities and stuff, and like that's where they do a lot of their research. So like I think there's probably a multitude of reasons, but it's like I think, you know, with like especially like politics and stuff, like, you know, we have all these things that we talk about, and like if we did the math, like we could figure out what is the best for like all of these things. You know, we could find out, is free education good? You know, is like free healthcare good? Like what are the trade-offs of all of these things? Like we could argue about all of these things and like figure out really, really good solutions that work for almost everyone. And I think there's like people things, there's like the politics of different issues. People have different benefits that come out of like certain
It's also
choices.
like change is hard. Change is super hard.
Yeah, especially when you're like dealing with this, like a whole society.
Don't want to change. You know?
Yeah, but like when you're dealing with the whole society, it's really difficult to make any massive changes. And you also, like, so much of learning comes from failing, and it's really hard to justify trying something and risking failing when that failure might cause the deaths of like thousands of people. Like, you know, you look at what happened in the last like, you know, century. We decided to try out communism and socialism and all these different things. It's like those didn't work. And so like, you know, you can't really try and fail things on a whole societal level without really causing a lot of headache or a lot of suffering. And so it's like, if we had relatively realistic ways of simulating different changes and being like, what is this actually going to do? Like, I think we could eventually get simulations that were relatively realistic, but you're just never going to know, and any change that you make could potentially really cause massive issues on a societal level.
Bro, you're in deep, dude. You are in deep.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think I'd push back on the point around there not being enough engineers. I mean, I love Elon Musk, and I haven't heard him say that. And if he has said that, then I mean, he might be right. But I mean, man, I was living in Silicon Valley for a year and a bit, and there's tens of thousands of engineers.
That's in Silicon Valley. Super that makes sense. I'm saying like in other places that are not the Bay Area. There's like I for sure remember him saying that he was just complaining that more people need to be working as
well, I think well, I do think that he's semi-right in like there are a lot of jobs that we do that like it would be very easy to automate them. Like, you know, you see this in a lot of like, you know, how many lawyers do we need, and like how many people working in like all these finance industries do we need? Like there are a lot of things where we could automate them, and I think eventually we will, and obviously there are drawbacks that come with that. But like I do think over time we're going to end up forcing people into the engineering fields because we're going to automate almost everything else. And I think, again, there are positives and negatives to that. But I do think if we get more people in the engineering fields, it will provide a lot more benefit.
What are your thoughts on like teaching being automated, like schools? Do you think schools will ever be online in the future as they are now?
So the previous company I worked on was all about like online education, like online universities and things like that. So COVID was quite
beneficial.
A good business kind of, well, it almost like exposed how bad the current like digital teaching and learning infrastructure is in universities, and gave the platform Aula to an opportunity to kind of prove itself. So just before that, I think one thing just to add to the previous conversation is like, you mentioned Elon Musk, like that guy can think. He uses mental models very effectively to understand problems really well and to make really high quality decisions that are often right. So I think on a deeper level than just like throw more engineers at the problem, because engineers often aren't very good at thinking like societal consequences of things and like ethical stuff, and it requires a very interdisciplinary set of people to really solve these problems. And I think mental models, like teaching people how to think, like Elon Musk is all about first principles, understanding like biases and cognitive biases and hindsight biases and availability, like really teaching people how to think in a comprehensive way, I think would be like one of the best things that we can do to upskill all of humanity to start making good decisions. Whether you're an engineer or maybe you're like an economist and you're thinking of a new way to leverage blockchain to change the economic monetary system, I don't know. But I think that's something I'm really passionate about. And the podcast that Andrew Mitson and I are going to start soon is all about like mental models and like how can we share insights from the best thinkers in the world to make it accessible towards everyone. To your question about automation in schools, I think, so like I was mainly a math teacher, and there are as good as I might have been or as bad as I might have been, you can get like the best maths teachers in the world to write a script for every single part of maths, and it's sequenced pedagogically perfectly. And then you can use just like very simple machine learning to kind of personalize people's trajectory based on their misconceptions. So like if they get a certain mistake, it shows that this is their misconception. So you go on that different path, etc., etc. And on the like getting good marks side of things, at least in the STEM subjects, you're set. I think in my ideal world, that would be combined with like the human facilitation of a teacher, because education is more than just getting good grades. Technology can do that really well. We can have schools without teachers and people get like the highest grades. That's nice, but I think education should mean more than that. So I think teachers will always have a role in like facilitating personal development from students and debate and challenging students and probing them to think about different ideas in a way that technology won't be able to, at least for a very, very long time. So ultimately, like, I suppose my opinion's like a bit more nuanced than, oh, technology is terrible, keep it out of the classroom, which is what a lot of teachers think. They're really terrified of technology, but also a lot of like tech bros who don't understand education and are like, oh, we just like throw technology at the problem and then everyone will get great grades. And then great, you've got a bunch of people who've got good grades and they won't be able to solve the world's problems because they haven't had that teacher who's like inspired them to work harder, or who's like just said that one little thing that's influenced that student to go and be a dentist or save lives or do whatever.
Yeah, something that I've noticed recently is like, so I have a lot of like professors who are just doing everything through like recorded lectures. And so like, we don't even see them except at like office hours. And I'm like, why are you getting paid like $100,000 if you're just like recording a lecture and then like, you don't ever have to do it again? Like, you're just like, I'm gonna record this lecture and then I'm gonna just show it to you. And it's like, why do you know, like, what is the incentive of keeping you around? Because like, you know, we have, you know, teaching assistants. It's like, why don't we just let the teaching assistants do that and just like fire the professors? Like, you know, like obviously in certain cases, Andrew. No, in certain cases, but like it'd be way cheaper and lower the cost of education. I mean, it just makes sense. Like, it might not be the best thing for education overall, but like with how things are set up right now, it's already so bad that it's like, I feel like that wouldn't do too much in terms of making it that much worse, because you'd still have TAs who are like teaching everything. Because, you know, for at least from what I've seen, a lot of the college professors, it's like, you know, they show up for like a lecture and then like an office hour and then like that's like all they do. And it's like, that's like all I've seen most of my professors do.
That's a shame. I mean, like over the last couple of years, I've worked with like, I think over 600 professors around the world. And it's rare to have professors so hands off. I don't know, like, because during COVID, I kind of left my old job and I don't know how it's happened now, but I think fortunately, that's not the case, at least in a lot of UK universities, where the professors are much more hands-on and they're like engaging with their students online, or hopefully they are, and as well as office hours and other things. But I suppose COVID's changing that, so we'll see how professors adapt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be the really interesting thing.
Wait, why do you have online classes when you're at school, bro?
Yeah, I'm like
so
at
dumb.
school.
He's living at
all
school in a dorm and he's watching lectures in his dorm.
Yeah, I literally don't have a single in-person class. Well, it's because like I was moving on campus and then I like changed all my classes like the day before school started and they all ended up being online. But originally I had some in person. So I was like, whatever.
In college right now?
So I have a roommate, but that's the extent of it. So like there are like plenty of other people, but. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm in my house in Cali.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah.
I didn't go back to school. I'm not about to catch that COVID.
Actually, the rates here have been pretty low, but yeah. So we have like 2 minutes left, I think. So Kevin, do you have any other questions or anything?
Yeah, coffee or tea. What's your energy booster?
Or soda. Coffee.
Because Andrew's is like soda. So
yeah. Diet Coke. No, not Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Coffee I've only had like 7 times in my life. It
7
gets me super like.
Wow. I thought you knew that.
Like, me on coffee is like hardcore.
Yeah.
I love tea.
That's like your first time.
And tea is like
tea.
But tea makes me like chill. Like I want to go to sleep. I'm gonna have some tea right now.
And then go sleep.
Take
that power nap.
I'm waking up at 5 a.m.
Oh yeah. It's later.
Oh, is it night for him right now? Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Well, it's like 8:40 p.m.
Yeah,
I'm trying to wake up at 5 a.m. these days.
It's crazy. We're all on different time zones.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
But yeah, Ollie, do you have any questions or anything for us before we go?
No, it was super fun chatting with you guys, and look forward to connecting more in future.
Yeah. Do you want to share like any social medias or any other things for you?
Where can people find you?
If you, LinkedIn, Oliver Rutherford, or www.unirise.co.uk.
Just search up UniRise. You'll probably find them there.
Yeah, we'll link them too. But
all right. Cheers, guys. Have a great day.
Cheers. Yep, you too.
Bye.
Bye.